Never did I think I'd get to say this out loud, but Daniel Levy and his cronies at the top of the club have made a decision that wasn't based on lining the club's coffers and does respect the fans during a difficult time. Sacre bleu, what is going on? Can the fans take that good news and put it into an amazing atmosphere tonight in the vital AZ Alkmaar Europa League last 16 second leg? I'll bring you all the news from the pre-match press conferences in this episode of Daily Tottenham Hotspur News. Guys, thank you so much for watching and listening wherever you are. If you're on YouTube, please do give this a video a like. Please do press subscribe, and also please do go over to the audio platforms if you haven't already. Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever. Go to the Spurred On podcast, give me a subscribe or follow there. It all really helps. But it really is the big night, isn't it? What am I? I'm recording this about 8 o'clock in the morning, so just less than 12 hours until the make or break judgment day of this season. How are you feeling leading up to it? I know if you've been watching my videos, you'll see I've not been overly positive. It feels like it's hard to be, mainly because it just feels to me as a Spurs supporter of many decades, like I've seen this all before. A lot of people who I've spoken to are saying, I think we'll find a way to sneak through. I think we'll just do enough. The problem I have is that it's just going to take an entire shift in confidence with the players on the pitch. It's going to take an entire shift in form. And as far as I can tell, based on the experience, certainly of this season, but also of a lot of Ange Postecoglou's time, we're not going to be playing against an opposition who I think are going to allow ourselves to play our way into that kind of form and into that confidence shift. The only thing that I can see that could be different from that first leg in Alkmaar is that the pitch will be better. It's a bit wider, I think. It seemed like quite a small, narrow pitch in Alkmaar. And obviously, just got to hope that the fans can get behind them. But the players need to give them something to get behind as well. And, I'll bring you some quotes from some of the players. James Maddison said that, they want to start fast and get on the front foot and get the fans behind them. The problem with that is we try and start fast and then we just leave gaping holes behind us. And if they score the first goal tonight, AZ Alkmaar, then that is going to be trouble. And I have to say, having seen these kind of games so often, I can see them scoring the first goal. I can see the big balloon pop where, the fans are excited, they get up for it, and then after 5 minutes from a set piece or a break down the left-hand side, they manage to get a goal. Vicario starts shouting his defenders, and all of that energy is let out of the stadium. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope that Van der Ven and Romero's return will allow us to play a much higher line, basically with them playing on the halfway line, but also more importantly when we've got the ball kind of 10 yards inside the opposition's half to kind of create that squeeze that means that Alkmaar can't get out and all they can do is like hike it forward and then Vicario picks it up and then starts again, and that they don't have enough time or ideally energy, Alkmaar, because we'll have kept them penned in to kind of get any proper transitions and breakaways. In that instance, if we can get that, we can keep Romero and Van der Ven fit in the game and kind of 10 yards in their half, then also I'd like to see us putting more crosses into the box, assuming that Solanke's going to play. And that is kind of why I wonder whether Porro might start, even though I think a lot of us are thinking maybe the two players who would be better to start would be Udogie on the left and Spence on the right. Maybe he will stick with Porro because of Porro's ability to get crosses in. They'll be deep. We'll get a lot of possession probably in the forward right situation, but they'll have players doubling up. So then that pass backwards to Porro for him to put in a first time cross or take a little touch if he's got time and put in a cross and then get Solanke in, and then maybe even deep runs from the likes of Sarr if he's playing, or Maddison. Don't forget that goal we scored against Man City at the Etihad when Maddison made that deep run from a deep cross from, I believe, from Porro. So maybe that's why Porro will play. Also, Porro, of course, can hit long range shots, got a good strike on him, and with a deep defence, excuse me, that may well be something we need as well. But it's going to be a difficult game. Like I said, I cannot see us keeping a clean sheet. Obviously, no away goals these days in Europe, so that won't make a difference, which I think is in Spurs' favour, realistically, considering how absolutely appalling we were in the away leg and didn't score. And I'm going to stick to my prediction that I've made the whole time, which is I think penalties may play a part. Anyway, it was the press conferences yesterday, the pre-match presses. Ange was asked this. It said, "The game is being billed as win or bust for Tottenham's season for you and your project. How do you feel?" He was quite Saki, wasn't he, really? He said, yeah, there are not many professions in the world where you have to come in and answer questions like that, are there? No. But I am going to be polite and say we're focused on winning the game tomorrow night and need to put in a better performance than we did last Thursday. Understatement of the century, Ange. Obviously, that wasn't anywhere near the standard we want to play. We did some good things at the weekend, did some not so good things, but we feel like if we can play with the intensity and tempo we played at the weekend, we'll give ourselves a good chance to progress. Going to be hard to play at intensity and tempo when you're playing against a team who are just going to bite at your legs and have 11 men behind the ball. Another thing maybe we could hope for is, can we kind of drag Alkmaar around enough where they will get frustrated? They did foul us a lot last week, kind of what I call professional fouls, dark arts, not allowing Tottenham to play in their preferred rhythm. They'll do the same again. Is there a way we can get kind of some bookings in there early for them, which won't allow them to do it as much? Hopefully with the Spurs fans behind us, that will kind of get on the referee's mind a little bit, because I find that with Tottenham, referees are a little reticent to give opposition players bookings, especially early in games. That is something that maybe Tottenham could look to, trying to play on their discipline and see if we can change the game a little bit like that. The next question for Ange was, you've been favourites to win this competition from the start, and that, plus you said you always win a trophy in your second season. Is there any extra pressure? He said no extra pressure. I guess, as I said before, I think we were obviously disappointed with our performance in the first leg, and I guess the important thing is we didn't make the tie impossible for us to get back into. It's still very tight. Obviously they have the goal advantage, but being at home, and if we can play with the intensity and tempo we played at the weekend, so he's going back on that, I think we'll have the opportunity to progress. Should we progress, then we'll obviously have another big challenge in the next round. But right now, the key focus is to put in a really strong performance at home tomorrow night. We'll go from there. So he's really trying to badger in almost to his players by proxy through the media how important the intensity and the tempo is. I don't disagree. It'll just be a lot, I think, on whether the players have the confidence to play at that tempo, that high level. Plus, realistically, a lot of times in recent games, especially in central midfield with Bentancur or Bissouma in the few occasions he's been on the pitch, when we're trying to play at that kind of Ange ball speed, which is a lot of kind of 1 and 2 touch stuff, playing it round the corners, we've just given the ball away far too easily. And that's where a lack of confidence comes from. So especially at home, if a player gives a ball away trying to do something like that, flick it round the corner and it goes straight to an opposition player, the fans go, ugh. And then the player's not going to try it again. And that's something that has really affected Bentancur recently, because he's just been going, in the last few games, sideways and backwards. He won't be playing tonight, obviously, because of suspension. But I feel like a lot of it is about, can the fans almost give the players permission to try and play positively, to try and be brave on the pitch? So it's going to have to be a real team effort from the fans to the players, and the players back to the fans, and vice versa, both ways. And it'll be interesting to see if we can do that, and if so, which starts first. Will it be the fans kind of showing their voice to really give that kind of momentum to the players and get the blood properly coursing through their veins? Or will it take something on the pitch, maybe some big tackles or some big recovery runs, or just players on the pitch really showing through their work on the turf that the fans need to get behind them? The next question was, much has been made of youth, but how much tomorrow do you rely on experience? Romero, Maddison and Son, they have to step up, don't they? He said, yeah, I think so. But we haven't had them a lot, so he's harking back to the injuries again. I would include Vicario in that as well. I think Vic was enormous for us in the first leg, and he was big for us at the weekend as well. You want your big, experienced players to perform in these games. We have relied a lot on our younger players who have really progressed well. But I guess a night like tomorrow night, having the likes of Romero, Maddison, Vicario and Sonny out there are 4 leaders, and I don't think we've had them on the park at all this year, or very little anyway. He means together, I guess. Having all 4 of them, the whole leadership group out there, will definitely be beneficial. I hope he's right. I took a big intake of breath there, because I feel like, is that being too hopeful, that just magically having them all on the pitch together is going to make a huge difference when none of them are kind of grab your teammates by the scruff of the neck, or grab the game by the scruff of the neck type players? But I hope he's right. I really do. And I hope, maybe that can cause some kind of calmness throughout the rest of the squad and the rest of the team, and allow us to do something. I mean, look, what I really want more than anything is an early goal, fans up, and then we just plough into them. as we know Tottenham can do. Tottenham under Ange have had these spells where they can score 2, 3, 4 goals in a very short space of time. I'd say it's usually tends to be in the second half or at the beginning of the second half. But yeah, that would be amazing if they could just find a way to make us feel calm. But will that happen? Highly unlikely. And then the big question, and I spoke about this earlier this week, or maybe it was last week in a video, didn't I? About this whole thing that Ange is being beaten with about him winning in the second season. I said it's totally been misquoted, or people have used it in the wrong way. And Ange actually finally not agreed with me, but he said it yesterday how exactly it is. He was asked earlier in the season, about his experience of winning, and he said, "Look, in my experience, in my past, I've always won something in the second season." He never said, I'm definitely going to win something in the second season. Anyway, the question was, do you regret saying I always win in my second season? He said, my view has always been when you're asked a question, you answer it. I wasn't making anything up. I was asked a question, I answered that question. People have sort of used it for their own purposes in suggesting I was making a bold claim, but I wasn't. I was stating a fact. If that doesn't happen this year, then I can't say that anymore if I'm asked again, can I? What was I supposed to say? I always win in the second year, but, well, I have in the past everywhere I've been, here it won't happen. Is that what people want to hear? I don't have an issue with that. People can try to twist these things and use them. Maybe we will defy the odds and I do win something. You know what people will say? Isn't it great that he made such a bold claim, they'll say. People just use it the way they want to, depending on the circumstances. I'll always answer things the way I feel comfortable answering them. I'm really comfortable and proud of the fact that everywhere I've been, I've won things. I think it's something where I wouldn't be sitting here if I hadn't. Whether I win something in my second year here, time will tell. Well, the odds are stacked against him at this point. And a lot of that is because of the confidence and form, like I said, which, has come from some of the injuries, but not solely because of the injuries. And, I'm just really hopeful that tonight Postecoglou can get into them with a Churchillian-esque fight them on the beaches, man management, motivation, pre-match speech, something that hits the mark perfectly but doesn't send them into a disciplinary overload and lead to Udogie or Bissouma going knee-high with some tackle and leading us to be in 2 men down to 9 men like we were in that Chelsea game last season. We need something to change tonight, and it feels like it's, not only is it the last chance, but also it feels like we've left it a little too late, possibly, but I hope I'm wrong, and I really hope that Ange, there's nothing I want more than for Ange to win this Europa League, my God, but can you really see it at the moment? It's hard, and it just feels like so much pressure on the entire club tonight and on those players who, as you'll have heard me say time and time again this season, and under Ange, whenever adversity hits, whenever the pressure is piled on, how do they react? They shrink. Mostly. I can barely think of any occasions where they don't shrink into their shells. And with all this pressure tonight, it's hard to see them not shrinking into their shells. But that's maybe where what he's talking about, the leadership group, might come through. Sonny's played many times for club and country under pressure. So has Romero. Maddison less so. Vicario, though, doesn't seem like a man who shrinks under pressure. So maybe that's where having them all together, like you said, will come to help. But I don't know. Let's see what happens. Next question with Pat Matsar observing Ramadan. How impressive does that make his performances when he's not able to drink or eat during daylight hours? He said it's a testament to him and all the other players who have that faith and those strong beliefs that they're able to do both. I think Jed is observing it well. Jed Spence. Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that. With all these things, you have to respect people's beliefs, and our role is to try to support and see what we can provide in terms of assistance to make sure they can perform at the levels they want. Pap, particularly these last few weeks, is coming back to the levels we saw with him earlier in the year and last year. He's important to us, particularly at the moment. Tomorrow night, obviously, Rodrigo is suspended. We'll need his energy as we did on the weekend. I mean, that suggests that maybe Pap Sarr will start tonight. How do you guys feel about players starting when they haven't eaten all day or drunk all day because of Ramadan? I remember back in the day, I think Freddie Canute was certainly the first player I was aware of at Spurs who observed Ramadan, and it became a media story. And I remember being at the ground because I was a steward at the stadium at the time. And during Ramadan, just watching Canute to try and see whether his energy levels were as much as usual. I mean, the thing with Canute was he was such a languid, laissez-faire player anyway. I mean, talk about a player who would never press, really. Or at least if he did press, he did it in a way that made it look like he wasn't pressing. So, be interesting to see if Pap does start tonight, and Spence as well. and whether they're able to have the same energy levels as they would if they were able to eat in the day. It's just natural that might be difficult for them. Let's see what happens. Ange was asked, why did the squad have the wrong mindset last week in the first leg? He said, I think there was some clear evidence that we didn't play at the intensity, there he goes again, that we usually do. It could be a multitude of things, but we've analysed that and reviewed it. On the weekend we had our struggles, but at the same time I thought we were more like ourselves, particularly in the second half, in terms of playing with a really strong intent with and without the ball. So the level is there. It's not like it's disappeared. We've got to make sure we get to that level again tomorrow night. Is the level there, Ange? I can think of a 10-minute, maybe 15 at best period against Bournemouth where I thought, okay, they're knocking the ball about a little bit here, starting to get into their rhythm a little bit. But once again, all it took was Bournemouth to kind of get a few players to go down, to slow things down, to commit some fouls, and that breaks up our rhythm. So it's not as simple, Ange, I'm talking to Ange now, but it's not as simple as just saying, oh, it's up to us to get that rhythm. Sometimes, and very regularly in these games that we've lost, the opposition doesn't allow us to get into our rhythm. They know that breaking our rhythm is key to stopping us. And Alkmaar will do exactly the same thing. So, excuse me, it's not always as simple as just saying, oh, it's up to the players to get into their rhythm. It's whether the game state allows that. And that's where I think Ange has suffered a little bit for not having other options, not having other ways of dealing with that kind of game state. He gets very frustrated on the sidelines when opposition players commit kind of professional fouls or when they break up the rhythm and stuff like that. But that is the Premier League. That is the top level. That is elite football. You don't get everything your own way like you do maybe at a club like Celtic where, you know, you're so ahead in every game anyway in terms of the standard of players that you have. It's very rare that you'll come up against anyone who can kind of shake you from your rhythm like that. Anyway, Ange was asked, it's obviously a high-pressure game today. How do you frame that for the players? He said, there's always pressure, and yes, it's a big game, but you know, if we're successful tomorrow night, it'll be the same in the next round. That's when you're in the later stages of a Europe or any other cup competition. You kind of know every game is meaningful because it either means the end of the road or you progress. So we understand that. We need to embrace it. It's good that we're at home. It'll be a good challenge for us, but I'm sure it's what we're up for. He was then asked, the atmosphere was referenced by you on Sunday, and we've seen at other cup games, I think City and Liverpool, how much of a difference the fans can make. What sort of role have they got tomorrow? He said, yes, a big role. We saw that at AZ. They obviously helped their team on the night, and we need our supporters to get behind the team and create a really good atmosphere, like we did when we played Liverpool and City. I think our fans know it's a big game, and I'm sure they'll come there tomorrow night to try and support the lads and get us over the line. Listen, completely agree. If you are going to the game, put down for one night your grievances with the club. Put down your grievances with Daniel Levy. Put down your grievances with Ange. And, you know, some of the goals that we continue to keep conceding in the same way. And just support. Even if we do concede an early goal, like I mentioned earlier, it could happen. But still, because of no away goals, still 2 goals would get us back in the tie and get us to extra time. So support. Make it difficult for AZ Alkmaar. Make that stadium a nightmare. You know, it's a huge stadium. Alkmaar will have a lot of fans. Let's not have another situation where you can hear the away fans more than you can hear the home fans. So let's try our best in the stands, but also let's hope that the players really give you guys in the stands something to support. I'll be doing the watch along on Chris Cowlin's channel tonight. So if you're not able to get to the game, come over to Chris Cowlin's channel on YouTube and I'll be doing the watch along. Ange was then asked, you're 1 goal down. How do you approach it? In terms of, do you try and go hell for leather from the start, or do you have to be a bit mature and think you've got 120 minutes to get through it? He said, I think you just treat it as any other game. I think if you frame the scoreline into it, ultimately it's a game we have to win. If we win, it means we're in a positive goal difference. Where that's enough to get through, we'll see, but it's a game we have to win. We know that. The beauty of our approach, I guess, is nothing really changes because we go out there and try, and I know it sounds obvious, but we try and go out there and win every game and be really dominant in our football. And that's what we're going to need to do tomorrow night to get the result we want. So from our perspective, being a goal down doesn't really change anything. We'll just go out there with a normal mindset that, again, we showed in the games we've done well in this year and use that as a way forward. Let me know in the comments, guys, what you thought of Ange's quotes from yesterday's press conference. Do you think that could be his last press conference at Tottenham Hotspur? If we don't get through tonight, I know it's negative to think about it, but we have to because of the way that we've struggled against adversity this season. If we don't get through tonight, do you imagine that Ange would lose his job tomorrow? Or would he get the Fulham game? Or do you imagine actually that Levy will be like, let him stay as a dead man walking for the rest of the season? Let me know your thoughts. Guillermo Vicario also did a pre-match press conference yesterday. He said some interesting things. He was asked about Ange Postecoglou and his management. He said, "I can say his approach has been very committed since the day he came here. He delivered us the way to play the game because he truly believes in it, and we can be successful this way. We're fully behind him and very committed to doing that. I think we've proved that when we've been 100% in the brain and committed, we've proved what we can do. We have to deliver. We know exactly what we're going to face. I think tomorrow the best version of Spurs is with togetherness, with us on the pitch and the fans in the stand." So another call from Vicario this time for the fans to help them and get behind them. Ange also said in terms of team news, Ben Davies is available for selection, and in terms of the injuries, he thinks that Danso and Richarlison could potentially return after the international break. Son Heung-min said this about tonight: "It's another big game at home." Excuse me. "We need everyone, from the supporters, the players, the staff, the club, everybody. We need that togetherness to get the game turned around. Quality alone won't bring wins. The games always need the right mentality and care. The performance and the hard work always matter. Individual quality, you don't have to talk about it. When you're not giving everything, football is a sport where it can turn around. We need to be focused, take it seriously, respect the opponents, and do everything that we can to turn it around, especially at home." So more call to arms, really, from Sonny. James Maddison also did an interview with Sky this week. And just an interesting quote from him where he was asked whether he gets spoken about too much. He said, "Yeah, but that's okay. I'd rather that than them talk about Archie or Lucas. I don't mind taking the heat a little bit. I'm big enough and ugly enough now to take the hits and take the criticism because I know what I'm capable of. I know what I can do. I know my personal level, and what people don't see is what we do behind the scenes and how much we're trying to improve and how much work. And it's very cheap to go and sit and talk and criticise." Listen, tonight is a night for James Maddison. A Tottenham Hotspur glory night. Go and get the ball, make it happen. That pass he played for Sonny in that Bournemouth game to get us the penalty for the equaliser was pure Maddison. The only player on the pitch at that time who could have played such a perfectly weighted pass, I think. And we need that tonight. We need him to take it. If we get any free kick opportunities, we need him or Son to just be clear. Make the keeper make a save. Score from it, if ideally. Good set-piece delivery, and we need to just be ruthless, we need to be clinical, and we need those players to see this as the biggest game of their careers, because it's the biggest game of Tottenham's recent history for sure. Because, again, if nothing changes and we go out tonight, it will be another rebuild, another manager will come in, and this is a way for Ange to save himself. This trophy, and I want him to save himself. I want him to make this work, and I want him to prove us all wrong. And when I say us, I put my hand up when it comes to Ange. I just fear that there's some tactical naivety that won't allow him to make this work at the very top level. There have been too many examples of it, but I want him to shove it down my throat and start with a huge performance tonight. Now, in terms of what I put in the title and the opening, I'm sure you've heard it, but yesterday Tottenham announced, and good timing, to be honest, just before such a huge game, they announced that they are not going to increase season ticket prices for next season. I think they had to make that decision, considering what an appalling season it's been this year. There would have been riots, there would have been uproar. They have found some little caveats within the story where it does look like they're going to find ways to make money elsewhere. I think one of them is that the resale value of your season ticket, if you have one, is going to be less. Also, I think there's a change in the kind of automatic cup tickets process. But I think the overall story is that they haven't upped those prices, and that is vital. And good decision. Well done, Spurs. And then finally, I thought I'd mention that there was an announcement yesterday from the Change for Tottenham group about the protest before the Southampton game. It says this: "Once again, we march. We will not stand by while our club's future is destroyed. This is our club, our history, our identity, and we will fight for it. Be there, make your voice heard." Listen, I have no problem with this group and protesting and stuff. It's subjective, each to their own. I do think saying stuff like, "while our club's future is destroyed," is a little ironic, considering one thing you cannot say about Levy and ENIC is that they haven't put the future of the club in safe territory in terms of future-proofing with the build of the big new stadium, the revenue streams that come into that, the training ground, etc. They're not destroying the club. I think the argument more is, are they paying enough attention to what needs to happen on the pitch as they are off the pitch? That I can agree with, but to say that they're destroying the club, I think is not correct, in my opinion. But like I said, it's subjective and plenty of people disagree with me, and that's fine too. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching and listening. Really appreciate your support. If you're not already a member, please do press that subscribe button. Trying to get to 15,000 subscribers at the moment. Also, you can become a member. Only £1 a month really helps me make daily content for you. Just find out how in the description box below. But most importantly, with such a huge game tonight, try and enjoy your Thursday, and hopefully we'll be able to find a way through, and therefore look forward to the rest of the season as well. Come on, you Spurs.